My presentation is about one of the Persian musical instruments you can see here. The name is Kamancheh, and it is a bow instrument, a spike fiddle. And we will go into a bit of detail about it. The root of this instrument goes back to ancient Persia, and it is played in many different countries now. It has different types, but all have the same parts. Actually, there was a figure showing the parts, but I can maybe show it like this. Here we have a soundbox, a wooden soundbox, which is elm wood, usually. And it has one opening, often only one, which is closed by a membrane, which is a biological tissue, fish of a skin, or a deer, or the stomach of a lamb. And the membrane is stretched and sits on the rim, which is a part of the sound box. It is played, as you can see here, by Master Kehan Kelhor. And we have the neck, which is usually walnut wood, and the pegs and the crown. And we have a metal bar here on which it stands. So, literature shows that there is no study done on this instrument, no previous studies. But it can be similar in ways to the banjo, which also includes, and the membrane plays an important role. The bridge sits on the membrane, so the membrane can be the role of the membrane is like the top plate in the violin or guitar or their families, and also it's flexible. So in this study, we just want to investigate the importance of the membrane compared with the soundbox and other parts. But it actually is a really complicated problem, and it is a very complicated system. So we need to go further into studies. But for a start, let's hear the Master Kalhor play it a bit. Okay. Actually, on the membrane itself, the stretched membrane, hyperelastic membrane, isotropic membrane, there are many studies and modelings and FEM modelings. I used one of them to compare between the results I will show later, and the theory of this. The study of a membrane, a circular membrane which is bound on the edge and free pressure. It will be a formula like this. The W is velocity, T is tension, and P is pressure, and so on. But here we have a very complicated vibrating system. Here it may be a good figure of the way the individuals are vibrating and are coupled with each other. We have the string constantly vibrated by the bow, and then the bridge and the neck. So the string sits on the bridge and the neck, and they are individually vibrated. The bridge is exerting pressure on the membrane, so it is directly vibrating the membrane, and all have a cavity, the air inside the sound box, and the elm wooden sound box and the external air are also playing an important role, but let alone the other parts. But we can say these are the most important. Okay. To start, we needed the experimental setup and very basic experimental data. So you can see the setup. We prepared it for this study. We tried to mount the instrument the way it is actually played. You can see the damper and the mount here. And we used the electromagnetic shaker with a metal bar and force transducer. We used the scanning laser vibrometer to measure the output velocities in perpendicular to the view we could get. Actually, we could only do it for the membrane and the rim, because the other parts of the sphere-like soundbox are more difficult to measure, because we needed mirrors and much more accuracy. Also, we have a bit of data for the neck. Oh, sorry. So also the pressure that the bridge is exerting on the membrane was measured by pressure-sensitive foil. It was 400 kilopascals. White noise we used as the input signal, and FRF was derived out of it. And you can see this first 7 natural frequencies. We estimate, that are actually the modes of the membrane on this instrument. You can see the list of the frequencies here, and this green shows the squared FRFs averaged for the membrane, and the blue is for the rim around the membrane, which is a symbol of how the soundbox is actually vibrating. And from this we can compare the order of the vibration, the order of the velocity of the membrane with the rim. And in the next slide we can see the difference in dB scale between these two, the membrane and the rim around it. And the result shows that it is different in an order of 2 to 3. So there's a lot of difference between the membrane and the wood vibrating scales. So we have to prioritize the membrane as expected, actually. It's worth mentioning that this is a Azerbaijan type of Kamancheh, and the strings are actually exactly like violins. So we have the data for that. And yes, to conclude, here the 3 last images show the work of hyperelastic isotropic finite element model of the Goncalves et al. The 3 first modes, natural frequencies, and the 5 first modes we derived. And actually, they can be logical in a way, because the first is exactly the same, taking into account the asymmetry we have by the pressure the membrane is exerting, and the 3 next frequencies are similar to the second, of an ideal membrane, and the fifth is similar to the third. So this is it for now. What we did actually, and but it is just a very short first step to have experimental data of the unknown instruments we have. Actually, the Makam and Dasko music without the Kamancheh actually are not that. I mean, we can say that there is no Dasko and Makam in the Turkish and Iranian music without this instrument. It is actually very important instrument and goes very, many years back in history, but yet we don't have any scientific data on it. We can say that we have derived a few. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Arslan Hazreti because he provided us with his own Kamanchehs he made. He's also a very well-known musician in Turkey. He's also Iranian. And thank you for your attention. I will have questions.
Thank you very much. We have time for 2 or 3 questions. Thank you for this nice experimental work. So don't hesitate to ask your questions.
The first mode you identified was 670 hertz, but there seems to be significant modes way down to 200 hertz. Have you identified the nature of those?
Actually, we measured from 300 to 2,000 hertz. The first mode goes lower than 670, which is the first mode, but the maximum velocity, the natural frequency is on that frequency, means 670.
So you haven't identified the lower modes then? Maybe bending modes?
I guess there is no lower mode, because this is supposed to be in the range of the violin, so it is on the higher ranges. So I guess it's logical that the first mode is 670.
Okay, thank you.
Let's stay. Good afternoon. Thank you.